Welcome. Thank you for choosing this quiet place for your rest. The story that follows is a gentle current meant to carry you softly toward sleep and a feeling of deep contentment. If this journey brings you comfort, a simple like or a subscription, and perhaps a kind word in the comments is always so very appreciated. Tonight, we will be visiting the glass lake. Prepare to drift across a surface as still as polished night, where the stars above and the stars below are one and the same, and feel the gentle cosmic hum that promises profound rest. Chapter 1. The Shore of Whispering Reeds. One finds such places not by looking for them, but by allowing oneself to be led by a quiet sort of pull, a gentle tugging at the heart that yearns for stillness. It was this feeling that had guided Corin through soft, rolling hills and sleepy, winding paths until the world seemed to grow hushed and expectant. The air itself had changed, becoming cooler and carrying a clean, earthy scent, like the smell of damp soil after a summer shower. And there, nestled in a wide, shallow basin that seemed to cup the sky, was the beginning of the journey, a small, unassuming dock, its dark wood worn smooth by countless comings and goings, yet showing no sign of wear. The only sound to greet Corin was the soft, continuous sigh of the reeds. They grew in thick, graceful clusters along the water's edge, their slender stalks swaying in a rhythm so slow it was almost imperceptible. It was a sound like a gentle exhalation, a constant, soothing murmur that seemed to absorb all other noises, leaving only a profound and welcoming peace. Corin stood on the shore, feeling the soft, dark soil yield slightly underfoot, and took a deep, slow breath, letting the tranquil air fill their lungs. Here, the hurried pace of the world was a distant echo, a story from another place and another time. A figure emerged from the deeper shadows between the reeds, moving with a quiet grace that made no sound. This was the Ferryman. They were tall and wore simple dark clothes, their face gentle and calm, etched with a kindness that needed no words. There was a timeless quality to them, as if they were a part of the landscape itself, as constant as the lake and as serene as the stars that were just beginning to appear in the deepening twilight. The ferryman offered no grand welcome, only a simple, slow nod and a small, reassuring smile that reached their eyes, a silent promise of safe passage. With a gentle, open-handed gesture, the ferryman invited Corin toward the boat that waited, tethered loosely to the dock. It was a simple vessel, crafted from the same dark wood, its interior curved and polished smooth by time. It looked wonderfully sturdy and safe, a small floating haven. Corin stepped in carefully, placing a hand on the smooth, cool gunwale, and felt the boat dip ever so slightly, a gentle, welcoming movement. The wood seemed to hold a faint warmth, a residue of some long-ago sun, a comforting texture against Corin's palm. Corin settled onto a simple wooden bench, the surface fitting perfectly, as if it had been shaped for just this purpose. The ferryman followed, untying the simple rope with a single fluid motion and giving the dock a gentle push. There was no splash, no sudden lurch, just a smooth and silent separation. The boat began to glide away from the shore, leaving the sign reeds behind. The journey had begun not with a grand departure, but with a soft and quiet release into the deep calm of the water. Corin felt a sense of letting go, a gentle unclenching of the spirit. The air grew cooler as they moved toward the center of the lake, yet it was a refreshing coolness, clean and pure. The scent of damp earth from the shore was gradually replaced by a new fragrance, something wonderfully delicate and sweet, though its source was not yet visible. It was the scent of night-blooming flowers, a gentle perfume carried on the still air. Corin leaned back, feeling the solid wood of the boat supporting them, a steady presence in the growing darkness. Looking up, Corin saw that the sky was now a deep, velvety indigo, strewn with a magnificent spread of stars. They shone with a clear, unwavering light, seeming both infinitely distant and wonderfully close. There were great, familiar constellations and faint, delicate dustings of more distant galaxies, a breathtaking tapestry overhead. It was a sky unhindered by the glow of cities or the haze of a busy world, a perfect, pristine canopy. As Corin's gaze lowered from the heavens, a quiet sense of wonder unfolded. The surface of the lake was perfectly still, a flawless mirror of polished obsidian. It held the reflection of the sky so completely, so perfectly, that it was impossible to tell where the water began and the sky ended. The boat did not seem to be floating upon a lake at all, but drifting gently through the vast, silent depths of space, suspended amongst the stars. Here, the sky and the water were one. Chapter 2. The First Reflection. To drift upon the glass lake was to learn the true meaning of gliding. There was no sense of being pushed or pulled, only of a willing, effortless movement through the profound stillness. The boat moved with a dreamlike slowness, allowing every detail of the magnificent illusion to be savored. Corin trailed a hand over the side, expecting to feel the chill of the water, but instead felt only cool, smooth air. The surface was just out of reach, a perfect, untouchable boundary between two identical skies. The feeling was one of absolute peace, of being held safely in the quiet heart of the universe. At the bow of the boat, a small lantern rested on a wooden perch. It was a simple thing, its frame made of dark, unadorned wood. Yet the light it held was quite special. It was a single steady flame that glowed with a warm golden hue, and it did not flicker or dance. This constant, gentle light cast no harsh shadows. Instead, it created a small circle of soft, comforting radiance around the boat, a cozy sanctuary adrift in the starlit void. The warmth from the lantern was a gentle presence, a soft counterpoint to the cool night air, and it seemed to make the smooth wood of the boat glow with a welcoming light. The slow, even rhythm of the journey was deeply soothing. The boat swayed with a barely perceptible rock and sway, a motion as gentle and steady as a sleeping breath. Corin found their own breathing beginning to match it, slowing down, deepening, becoming an effortless and quiet exchange with the calm air. With each slow inhalation came the sweet, clean scent of the night. With each gentle exhalation, a little more of the world's weight seemed to drift away, dissolving into the starlight. It was a rhythm that loosened the knots of tension in shoulders and back, a gentle unwinding of the body and spirit. The ferryman stood at the stern, a serene and silent silhouette against the stars. They held a long, slender pole, but never once did it touch the water. They simply stood, a calm and watchful guardian, their presence a silent reassurance that all was well. From time to time, the ferryman's gaze would lift to the star field above, then down to the identical one below, and a soft, knowing smile would touch their lips, a shared appreciation for the profound beauty of this place. This gentle demeanor created an atmosphere of complete trust, allowing Corin to relax fully into the experience. Corin's gaze traced the familiar shapes of constellations reflected in the water, the great plow, the shimmering hunter, the string of jewels that formed a queen's crown. They were rendered in perfect, sharp detail, yet they seemed softer here, their light somehow gentler when viewed through the lens of the deep, quiet water. The illusion was so complete that tiny reflected shooting stars would occasionally streak across the liquid surface, silent, silver trails that would fade without a ripple, a secret and beautiful magic. The quiet was immense, yet it was a comforting quiet, full of presence. It was the quiet of a vast, sleeping cathedral, a silence that felt sacred and alive. There was no sound of wind, no call of a night bird, only the deep, resonant stillness of the cosmos. In this profound hush, the smallest sensations became clear. The feeling of the cool air on one's cheek, the faint, comforting scent of the lantern's warmth, the solid feel of the bench beneath. It was an environment that invited one to simply be present, to observe, and to feel. As the journey continued, Corin noticed that the feeling of time itself seemed to have softened. Minutes and hours lost their sharp edges, blending into a single flowing stream of peaceful moments. There was no sense of hurry, no thought of a destination, for the journey itself was the whole purpose. To be here, drifting between the stars, was a complete and perfect state of being. It was a gentle lesson in patience, a reminder that some of the most wonderful things are found not in seeking, but in stillness. The reflection was so perfect, so utterly seamless, that Corin began to feel a gentle sense of weightlessness. It felt as if the boat were no longer bound by gravity, but was simply a fellow traveler among the celestial bodies, drifting on a cosmic current. The clear division between self and surroundings began to soften, and Corin felt a growing sense of connection to the vast, silent beauty all around. It was a feeling of becoming a small, quiet part of the immense and peaceful whole, here, floating in the gentle dark. Everything was connected. Chapter 3. The Luminous Weave. Just as Corin felt fully immersed in the illusion of floating through space, a new and even more wondrous sight began to appear. Looking deeper into the reflected star field beneath the boat, Corin perceived a faint, internal glow. It was a soft, silvery blue light that seemed to be blooming from within the water's depths. At first, it was just a few scattered points of light, like shy underwater stars waking from a long slumber. But as the boat glided onward, these points multiplied, weaving together into delicate, luminous patterns. The ferryman, seeing Corin's quiet fascination, gave a small, knowing nod and pointed downwards with one long, graceful finger. The source of the light was a kind of ethereal flora, growing in slow, gentle tendrils from the lakebed far below. There were long, silken fronds that swayed in some unseen current, each one traced with a line of soft blue light. And there were clusters of pale, cup-shaped blossoms that pulsed with a gentle, rhythmic glow, like slowly beating hearts of light. They formed a second, living star field just beneath the surface, a secret garden of constellations. The light from this starlit flora was different from the sharp, clear light of the stars above. It was softer, more diffuse, and it seemed to carry a gentle, living warmth. As the boat passed over a particularly dense cluster of glowing blossoms, a soft, radiant blue light washed up through the hull, illuminating the interior with its magical sheen. For a moment, Corin's hands, resting on the wooden seat, glowed with a faint, ethereal luminescence. The experience was wonderfully whimsical, a gentle magic that asked for nothing but to be quietly observed. With the appearance of the glowing flora, the delicate scent on the air grew stronger. Corin realized it was rising from clusters of night-blooming water lilies, their broad dark pads floating on the surface between the reflections. Their flowers were a pale creamy white, and they opened their petals only to the starlight, releasing a sweet, calming fragrance into the cool night. The scent mingled with the soft light from below and the golden glow of the lantern, creating a rich tapestry of sensory delight, a perfect harmony of light and fragrance. Corin felt a gentle urge to connect with this new wonder and trailed a hand in the water. The surface parted with a soft whisper, and the water felt impossibly silky and cool. As Corin's fingers dipped below the surface, they were immediately bathed in the soft blue light of the flora. For a moment, a faint silvery shimmer clung to the skin like captured moonlight before slowly fading away. It was a tangible connection to the lake's gentle magic, a feeling of being blessed by its quiet, luminous life. The ferryman guided the boat along a path that seemed to follow the brightest veins of this underwater galaxy. They drifted through glowing archways of luminous fronds and over fields of pulsing flowers, a slow and silent tour of a world hidden from the sun. It was a place of profound peace, a garden that tended itself in the quiet depths, blooming only for the stars and the moon. There was a sense of ancient, gentle life here, of a beauty that had existed for eons completely undisturbed. The combination of the two star fields, one above and one below, created a feeling of being completely enveloped in light and beauty. The world became a luminous weave of silver, gold, and blue, a gentle dance of cosmic and living light. The boundaries of the self seemed to melt away even further as the rhythmic pulsing of the underwater flowers seemed to echo the slow, steady beat of Corin's own heart. It was a profound sense of unity, of being a single quiet note in a grand harmonious song. The journey through the luminous garden was slow and meandering, following no straight line. It felt as if the boat was simply wandering according to its own gentle curiosity, pausing to admire a particularly bright cluster of blossoms, or drifting through a sparse patch where the reflected stars shone through more clearly. Corin felt no need to question the path, trusting completely in the ferryman's serene guidance. In this magical place, the only thing that mattered was the gentle, wondrous unfolding of the present moment. Chapter 4. The Silent Hum of the Cosmos. As the boat drifted out from the densest parts of the luminous flora, the world settled back into a profound and beautiful simplicity. The dark boat, the golden lantern, and the two star fields above and below. Corin's mind, which had been filled with quiet wonder at the magical garden, now settled into an even deeper state of calm. The constant stream of thoughts and observations that usually filled one's head had ceased, replaced by a simple, serene awareness. It was a state of pure, peaceful being, as clear and untroubled as the lake itself. It was in this deep quiet that Corin became aware of a new sensation. It was a very low, gentle hum, a sound so deep and resonant that it was felt as much as it was heard. It seemed to vibrate gently in the air, in the wood of the boat, and in the very bones of one's body. It was not a mechanical or intrusive sound. It was organic and harmonious, like the deep, unheard music of the stars themselves, made tangible by the lake's perfect surface. The cosmic hum was the lake's gentle heartbeat, a soothing frequency that aligned the spirit with its own profound tranquility. The ferryman, as if sensing the moment was right, moved with their usual silent grace. From a small covered compartment beneath their seat, they produced a simple dark clay pot and two small handleless cups. The pot radiated a gentle warmth, and as the ferryman poured, a soft plume of steam rose into the cool air, carrying with it a wonderfully comforting aroma. It was an herbal tea, a scent of dried flowers, sweet herbs, and a hint of something like warm honey. The ferryman offered one of the cups to Corin, their eyes crinkling with a kind and gentle smile. Corin accepted the cup, its earthen texture feeling warm and solid in their hands. The warmth seeped into their palms and fingers, a grounding and pleasant sensation. Corin took a small sip. The tea was as comforting as its scent, warm and delicately sweet, a flavor that seemed to perfectly complement the peacefulness of the night. It felt like drinking liquid contentment, a gentle balm that spread through the body, chasing away the last vestiges of any worldly chill. It was a simple, kind gesture that felt immensely profound in the deep stillness of the lake. They drank their tea in a shared, comfortable silence. No words were needed. The communication between them was one of mutual respect and a shared appreciation for this perfect moment of peace. The sight of the two of them sitting quietly in a small boat surrounded by stars, sipping warm tea as the cosmos hummed softly around them, was a picture of absolute contentment. It was a reminder that the most meaningful connections are often the ones that exist without a single word, built on a foundation of shared stillness. The hum of the cosmos seemed to grow a little clearer, or perhaps Corin was simply learning how to listen to it more deeply. It was a sound that encouraged the mind to let go of everything, to simply float. Corin felt the last knots of unnoticed tension releasing their hold, a final gentle surrender to the deep peace of the journey. The simple warmth of the tea, the steady glow of the lantern, and the resonant hum of the starlight all worked together, a perfect recipe for tranquility. As Corin held the warm cup, their gaze drifted across the star-dusted water. The reflection remained perfect, an unbroken vista of celestial beauty. The journey had peeled back layers of busyness and worry, revealing a simple, quiet core of being that was in perfect harmony with the night. This was not an escape from the world, but a gentle remembering of one's true place within it, a small, wondrous part of a vast and beautiful whole. The feeling was one of profound gratitude for the lake, for the ferryman, for this moment of perfect peace. The tea was finished, and Corin placed the empty cup gently on the seat beside them. A feeling of deep, restful drowsiness began to settle in, a pleasant weightiness in the limbs and a softness behind the eyes. It was the kind of sleepiness that comes not from exhaustion, but from complete and utter relaxation. The boat continued its slow, steady glide, a gentle cradle rocking its passenger towards a peaceful and restorative rest, carried on a current of starlight and silence. Chapter 5. The Farther Landing. The feeling of time continued its gentle dissolve, and Corin drifted in a state of serene waking slumber, lulled by the boat's soft rhythm and the cosmic hum. It felt as if no time had passed at all when a subtle change in the air and sound signaled their approach to land. The sweet scent of night lilies began to mingle once more with the earthy fragrance of damp soil, and the soft, sighing rustle of reeds grew steadily louder, a gentle whisper of welcome. The boat's bow, without a single jolt, nudged against the wood of a small dock. Corin opened their eyes fully and saw a shore that was a perfect echo of the one they had left behind. The same simple dock of dark, smooth wood, the same clusters of tall, whispering reeds, the same soft, dark earth at the water's edge. It was as if they had not crossed a vast lake at all, but had simply drifted in a slow, peaceful circle, only to return to the beginning. Yet, Corin knew with a deep and certain feeling that everything had changed. The journey had been an internal one, a passage across the quiet waters of the soul. The ferryman steadied the boat as Corin prepared to step out. Corin felt wonderfully light, as if the journey had unburdened them of a great unnoticed weight. Each movement was easy and fluid, the body feeling as calm and rested as the mind. Stepping onto the solid wood of the dock, Corin felt grounded and centered, the deep peace of the lake having settled into their very core, a warm, smooth stillness that felt as if it would last forever. The sighing of the reeds sounded like a soft, approving murmur. Corin turned back to the ferryman, whose hand still rested on the boat's bow. There were no words that could truly capture the depth of gratitude Corin felt. A simple thank you seemed far too small for the profound gift of this journey. So instead, Corin simply placed a hand over their heart and gave a deep, slow nod, hoping their eyes could convey the sincerity of the feeling. The ferryman understood completely. Their serene smile widened, and they dipped their head in a gesture of kind and mutual respect. With a gentle nudge against the dock, the ferryman's boat began to drift back out into the lake. It moved with the same impossible silence, a dark shape gliding away from the shore, the golden lantern at its bow, a single warm point of light. Corin watched as the boat receded, growing smaller and smaller, until it merged seamlessly with the starlit water and the night. The ferryman did not vanish in a flash of magic, but simply dissolved back into the landscape to which they belonged, leaving behind only a feeling of immense and gentle peace. Corin stood on the shore for a long while, listening to the soft rustle of the reeds and feeling the cool, clean air on their face. The lake remained a perfect, placid mirror, the stars shining with a calm, steady brilliance. The profound silence returned, but it was no longer just the absence of noise. Now it was filled with a faint, resonant hum of the cosmos, a sound that Corin could still feel vibrating gently within their chest, a quiet souvenir from the journey. A gentle sense of completion settled over Corin. The quiet yearning that had led them to this place had been answered. The path forward was not yet clear, but that no longer mattered. What mattered was this deep, abiding sense of calm, this feeling of being perfectly aligned and at rest. It was a peace that could be carried within, a quiet inner sanctuary that could be visited at any time just by closing one's eyes and remembering the feeling of drifting between the stars. With a final grateful look at the magnificent vista of the glass lake, Corin turned from the shore. The night was cool and wonderfully quiet, and the soft, dark earth felt welcoming underfoot. Ahead lay a path that wound away from the water towards a place of deep and dreamless sleep, and Corin walked towards it with a slow and easy gait, carrying the silent music of the stars within them, completely and utterly at peace.